Okay, so when I say ancient Egypt, what pops into your head? I'm guessing towering pyramids, incredible golden pharaohs, and, of course, mummies, all wrapped up and hidden for thousands of years. It's a story we all feel like we know, right? Well, today we're going to unwrap a totally different version of that story, one that might just challenge everything you thought was true.
See, the history we've been told is often just the highlight reel. It's been carefully edited, and sometimes it's been completely rewritten. We're about to dive into some of the biggest myths about this amazing civilization. And trust me, the truth is way more surprising than the legends.
First up, let's talk mummification. It's pretty much the signature move of ancient Egypt, right? An elaborate ritual that's become synonymous with the entire culture. But what if I told you the Egyptians weren't even the first to master it?
We all have this image in our heads of priests performing these sacred, complicated rites, all to preserve the bodies of their kings and queens for that big journey into the afterlife. It was a huge part of their religion, this whole complex process designed to guarantee immortality. But were they really the pioneers of this practice?
Okay, so just look at this. The oldest intentionally prepared mummies in the world, they're not from Egypt. Nope, they're from South America, created by a group called the Chinchorro people in what's now Chile. And get this, they were doing it 2,000 years before the Egyptians even got started. Wild, right? And what's even crazier is that while Egyptian mummification was mostly for the rich and powerful, the Chinchorro people preserved everyone. Men, women, children, it didn't matter what your social status was.
All right, so from mummies, let's jump to the other giant icon of ancient Egypt. The pyramids. You can't miss them. These massive structures are just pure symbols of Egyptian power and incredible engineering. But their shape has also given its name to a very modern and very shady scheme that is, well, it's anything but noble.
Yep, you know what I'm talking about. The pyramid scheme. It's a term we hear all the time, but the connection to those ancient wonders in Giza is more than just a name. It's all about the structure.
So how does it actually work? Well, you've got new recruits at the bottom who form this wide base, and all their money funnels up to pay a smaller and smaller number of people at the very top, just like the physical shape of a pyramid. It's this powerful visual metaphor for a system that is absolutely designed to collapse, which is a pretty stark contrast to the stone pyramids that have been standing for almost 5,000 years.
Okay, let's switch gears from buildings to a ruler who has fascinated us for centuries, Cleopatra. We think of her as the brilliant, seductive, all-powerful queen of Egypt. But how Egyptian was she, really?
In movies and art, she's always shown as the ultimate Egyptian monarch. But her actual identity is one of the most misunderstood parts of her whole story. And this is where history gets super complicated and, honestly, way more interesting.
Get this, Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian at all. She was a descendant of Ptolemy I, who was one of Alexander the Great's Macedonian Greek generals. He took over Egypt centuries earlier. Her whole family spoke Greek and basically ruled as a foreign elite. In what was an absolutely brilliant political move, Cleopatra became the first ruler in her family's 300-year dynasty to actually learn the Egyptian language. Embracing Egyptian gods and customs wasn't her birthright, it was a super savvy political strategy to win over the people she was ruling.
And her story gets even more dramatic when you look at how she died. Shakespeare made the scene famous, right? Heartbroken after Mark Antony dies, she takes her own life with the bite of a poisonous asp. It's the ultimate romantic tragedy. But is it true?
So let's stop treating this like a legend for a second and start looking at it like a historical cold case. Because when you do that, the official story starts to fall apart at the seams.
Yeah, the evidence it doesn't make any sense. The story says she and her two maids died quickly. Problem is, a cobra bite, while deadly, can take hours to kill you. Then there's the snake itself, supposedly hidden in a basket of figs. An Egyptian cobra can grow to be over 2 meters long. You're not hiding that in a fruit basket. And get this, a snake doesn't inject venom every time it bites, so for one snake to deliver 3 fatal bites in a row is almost statistically impossible. And the biggest red flag of all, the weapon disappeared. A snake doesn't just bite 3 people and then let itself out of a sealed room.
So if it wasn't suicide, then who did it? Well, all signs point to one guy, Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus. He had the motive. With Cleopatra gone, Egypt was all his. He had the opportunity. She was literally his prisoner at the time. And his actions right after her death are super suspicious, especially having her son murdered, who was his only rival to Caesar's legacy. But here's the real kicker. The story we all know traces back to accounts based on Octavian's own memoirs. He controlled the crime scene, and you better believe he controlled the narrative.
But Cleopatra's death wasn't the end of her story. In fact, one of her children not only survived, but went on to thrive, in a chapter that history and Octavian conveniently decided to forget. Meet Cleopatra Selene, Cleopatra's only daughter. She was orphaned and paraded through the streets of Rome in chains as a captive, but she survived. Augustus arranged for her to marry another royal orphan, Juba II, and then he did something pretty remarkable. He made her a queen. She ruled Mauritania, a huge kingdom in North Africa, for decades. The daughter of the woman Augustus defeated became a powerful ruler in her own right, all under his watch. Her incredible story of survival has been completely overshadowed by her mother's tragic and most likely fabricated end.
And that really brings us to the biggest lesson in all of this. That romantic story of Cleopatra's suicide? It was perfect for Octavian. It painted her as this emotional, defeated woman, not as a powerful political rival he had assassinated. He got to write the first draft of history, and it's the version that has pretty much stuck ever since.
So, the next time you hear a story from the ancient world that seems just a little too neat, a little too perfect, you have to ask yourself, who wanted me to hear it that way? And what other truths are still out there, just waiting to be unwrapped?